Hello and welcome to another episode of the It's Just a Hill Cycling Podcast. I am John, and before we get into anything else, I gotta sell you something, so let's rip the Band-Aid right off. The It's Just a Hill kit store closes in just a couple of days. I am recording this on Monday, June 29th. That is the day that it's coming out. And if you are watching this on the day of release, you have a little less than 48 hours or a little more than 48 hours. Long story short, the store is going to close July 1st, and that will be it for now. There are no extensions. If you've ordered something already, thank you so much. And if you haven't and you're on the fence, let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. I just ordered my stuff today. I am a 5'10" male at about 175 pounds, and I ordered mediums overall. That's a medium in the jersey, a medium in the base layer. I actually also grabbed a small too in case I wanted a little bit tighter, and I ordered a medium in the bibs. If you've ordered kit from us before, like before in the years past, you have probably gotten Pactimo kit before. Last time around, we did use a different manufacturer, but we went back to Pactimo. The experience with them is just so great. Working with Mike Wincup from Wears Wincup Designs is a great experience. He makes great kit. And I actually met Mike on Facebook Marketplace because he was selling Talladega Nights jerseys. He had like a Ricky Bobby Gotta Go Fast Talladega Nights inspired jersey. I think he had a Wonder Bread one for is it Cal? What's John C. Reilly's name in that movie? But you get it. There was also a Perrier one for Sacha Baron Cohen's. It was a great kit, and it really caught my eye all those years ago on Facebook Marketplace. And I reached out to Mike. I was like, hey, how can I buy this jersey? And how can we work together? And we've been working together since. So, like I said, this closes in just a couple of days. You can check it out. There is a link right in the YouTube description below if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're not, if you happen to be listening to on a podcast player of your choice, then you can just head over to Google or your search engine of choice and type it in. It's Just a Hill, Pactimo, Wears Wincup Designs. The links are all over on our Strava page. They're in the link in the bio and in Instagram and all that good stuff. It is the Pactimo Summit line. This is a slightly better bib short than we had last time. So if you're a bib snob like I am and you wanted a slightly better chamois, well, this one is for you. So like I said, closes in just a couple of days, no extensions, ships at the end of July. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message, comment on the video below. But as always, you can reach me at john@itsjustahill.com. That's JON@itsjustahill, all one word, .com. Okay, with all of that out of the way, we are going to talk about a few things on today's episode. First, maybe not first, but last, but first thing that I'm going to tease is we are going to go back and talk about a clip that I recently put up on Instagram, well, maybe like a couple months ago. It had to do with the last episode of the podcast about me saying that amateur cycling is cosplay, and I'm not taking that back. But that post, it did find its groove in the algorithm, and a lot of people saw it. A lot of people liked it and commented, and there were a lot of nice things, but there were a lot of nasty things on it too. So I want to talk about that in just a bit. Other than that, we are going to talk about It's Just a Hill events that are coming up. I'm going to get into the tour a little bit. I'm going to get into sort of my health and training, and then maybe a hot take that is stop buying speed. But let's scroll back up to the top and let's talk about what's going on the calendar in the It's Just a Hill community. Like I said, the Tour de France does kick off in just a little bit. And no, we are not riding in it, unfortunately, but we are participating in the It's Just a Hill Fantasy League, which is live now. We're doing it through the Escape Collective. That's the Escape Fantasy app. You can find that links right on our Strava page. You can join the two different leagues that we are running. The two different ways that this works is you get to pick your own team. You get to build out a roster. You have 100 points, and certain riders are, they get a certain amount of points, and you can use those 100 points to fill your roster of 8 riders. Someone like Pog or Jonas, they're worth like 30 or 35 points. And then you're going to go, maybe you want to build a sprinter heavy thing, or maybe you're going to go more climb heavy because you don't think that the sprinters are going to do too much, or maybe you're more of a chasing breakaway type of thing. So that's the deal. You got a little less than a week. The tour kicks off next weekend or this upcoming weekend. So make sure to join the league and get your picks in. Other than the team, you get to pick one rider per stage. That's the GC pick sort of category. You get to pick one rider per stage, but you can only pick each rider once. So you can't pick Pog 20 times and hope that he wins 10 or 12 stages and get those points. You get to pick him once. You get to pick Jonas once. You get to pick, your favorite sprinter, whether that be Mads Pedersen, Jasper Philipsen. You get to pick them once. And there's also a zine in the works. During COVID, I made a zine that was called Brain Trash with me and a bunch of my creative friends. And I want to bring that sort of idea into the It's Just a Hill community. So if you have something that you want to put in a cycling-related zine that I will be printing out and distributing through, local channels, going to be at bike shops, places that people like to, maybe just like grab a newspaper or something. I'm going to try to reach out to these local companies, local coffee shops that I like to go to, and the zine will be there, printed out. I'm talking photos, poems, prose, prose, not prose like pro cycling. Anything that you think that is like artsy and creative. I've already got some great submissions. I've got drawings from people, photos. We're going to do photo collages. I like to take a lot of photos while I'm riding of people's bikes or of the scenery. And so for the first issue, which should be coming out in mid-July, I'm looking for submissions. You can send those in to me again at my email. That's john@itsjustahill.com, Jon. And the deadline for that is July 6th. Okay, let's go into health and training a little bit. I got a new toy that I want to talk about, and it is the Garmin Rear Radar, the new Rear View, VUE, from Garmin. If you're familiar with the Garmin Radar, I've probably talked about it on the show before. To me, it is one of the best pieces of cycling kit that I own. It sits on the back of your saddle or sits on your seat post and points behind you and notifies you when a car is coming, or maybe a rider that's coming to suck your wheel without notifying you. I used this on a recent ride of mine. I rode overnight for the summer solstice from sunset to sunrise. And I used the rear view for the second time on that ride, and it lasted the entire time. It lasted like that whole sort of 9 hours, 9.5 hours from one to the other. And it was great. I didn't have to plug it in. It lasted the whole time on one charge. I didn't even have to top it off. I did have a battery with me to charge my front light, which does drain battery a little bit quicker. The rear view is a pretty great piece of kit. I did get it from NBX. I didn't get it for free or anything like that. This is not sponsored by Garmin, but it is out there. It's a little bit lighter. I was previously running the Garmin RCT, so the rear camera tail light, which is a little bit heavier. This is lighter, obviously. The other one was a little bit heavier. And I also got a sweet new mount from Sheehy Labs to go on my road bike, my Cervelo S5, and my gravel bike, my Cervelo Aspero 5. 2 different mounts to go right on the seat post, which is great. Sheehy Labs is great. Check them out. I'm not sure if I've ever talked about them on here before. They're a local company right out of Rhode Island, and they do a lot of great stuff, and they custom 3D print mounts for your bike. They have every single bike you can think of, every single seat post that you can think of, a lot of different shapes out there, right? There's not just round ones, D-shaped ones, oval-shaped ones. They'll get it made for you. And if they don't have one, if they don't have it for whatever reason, reach out to you and they can scan your bike or scan a bike just like yours and get it to you. I've been talking about my sort of relationship with Garmin a lot lately, and the Garmin watch, still not wearing it. I'm still on my calculator watch grind, and I wear the Garmin watch like when I do yoga or when I walk my dog, but other than that, I'm not sort of getting bogged down by Garmin information anymore. But the Varia, best piece of kit. Any sort of radar. There are different companies that make other radars. I've never used them, so I can't really speak to their quality. But the Garmin Rear View, it's a great piece of kit. Even if you want to get one of the older ones because it's a little bit cheaper, that's great. All right, so let's get into some quick chat about the Tour de France. I'm going to move my camera for a second. Check that out. I don't know where. My dad got me this flag. I don't know how long. I don't know where it's from. I don't really remember how long ago he got it for me, but it's been hanging up here. And it's pretty sweet. I love it. I love the Tour. It's obviously the biggest race in cycling. I think it's sort of the cycling thing that transcends cycling. A lot of people know about it that might not be really into racing. We're not talking about some sort of niche GP Dana race or whatever that I probably pronounced wrong. But we're talking about the Tour de France, baby. And the Grand Depart is July 4th. From Barcelona. And like I said, we're doing that fantasy league, so make sure to check that out. The links will be in the description below if you want to follow along and get a little bit more involved. And the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to the Tour is everyone's talking about the heat. A lot of heat in France, climate change is real, believe it or not. And you can't talk about this race without talking about the heat. It's been brutal over there. And honestly, it's a little bit brutal right here and in southern New England lately, almost like climate change is real or something. I don't know. Record heat wave in Europe. The question, how does cycling adjust? Are there ways to like work around this? There's been chats before about how the Vuelta is very hot. It's always hot in Spain in August, and about how sometimes the Giro is cold. There's been chats of like sort of swapping them on the calendar because there can be snow in the mountains during the Giro and there can be intense heat waves. But like, what does the Tour do? The Tour's not going to move. It's always been in July. It always will be in July. It sort of anchors itself around Bastille Day, which is the French Day of Independence. They're not going to move it. Maybe they can move it earlier in the day, something that we might not really think about as Americans that watch the race. But if you're putting it on a Tuesday, it's on in the morning, right? Which means it's, about 5 or 6 hours difference in France, depending on where you are. Of course, if you're on the west coast of America, it's a little bit different, depending on where you are in the world. But is there a way that maybe they can like ride earlier in the day instead of riding midday? I'm sure that viewership and sponsorship and all of that has a lot to do with it, being like prime time in Europe. They want things to be on a little bit later. But what does that mean? There's no way that they move the Tour dates. I don't think so, but maybe earlier rollouts. God forbid we have to start thinking about things like shorter stages or anything like that. There's no clean answer, but obviously the sport has to deal with it. The world is changing, the climate is changing, and that's not good. Let's get into some hot takes and some cold takes. Let's start with the cold take. Those are less exciting. Pog wins, right? He's going for his 5th. He would join some of the greats, Eddie Merckx, Bernard Hinault, Miguel Indurain. The whole season is built around July, and we know he wants to win it. Vingegaard, the only guy who's beaten him at the Tour, right? He went to the Giro, though. He did well at the Giro. Who knows? Pog says he's his strongest. Jonas looks pretty good, but we'll have to see how they match up. Then we got other guys coming in. Will Paul Sexas really be? Can he be a third? Can he be a second? Can he be a contender for the top spot? And here's where I might lose some of you. I'm sick of people complaining about Pog. I'm sick of people complaining about how good he is. Just don't watch. Just shut up and don't watch. It doesn't make sense. There's a difference between witnessing greatness and being bored. I do like to be entertained. I don't want to be bored. I don't really want to see him win every single stage and go off with 80 Ks left. But the Tour is still a race. It is beautiful. It is dangerous. It is chaotic. It is brutally hard for every single rider, right? No one wants to DNF. No one wants to come to the race and not finish. Riding the Tour is a dream, and most of them are out there just trying to survive. So if you're bored, turn it off and just go ride your bike. Whatever. Stop complaining about how good Pog is. I'm sick of it. And that's really my sort of hot take. I'm sick of people saying that Pog is too good. Whatever. Go watch something else. All right, speaking of hot takes, let's get off the Tour and let's have some equipment chat. Stop buying speed. You cannot buy speed. If you just bought a new wheel set for like $4,000 or something, I'm sorry to tell you, but your engine matters way more than your equipment. The biggest thing to getting stronger on the bike and getting more confident is consistency. You just got to ride. It's, what they say. I recently heard this on another podcast. It's 80% the rider and 20% the equipment. I'm not saying that, your aero wheels or your tubeless tires, don't make any difference, or your fast bike doesn't make any difference. Hey, I have a fast bike. I like it, and it's great. But the real secret is embarrassing simple. It's volume. Consistency and volume are everything. That's it. Nice things are nice. I love my very nice bike. It motivates me to ride. I think that's a big part. Like, you look at a bike and you love it, so you want to get out and ride it. That's big. That's a motivation tool. That is not a speed cheat, right? Riding makes you fast. You can get aero socks. You can get oversized pulleys. You can get ceramic bearings. People, they shave grams off that they'd never feel, and they skip the training that would do 10 times more. Most of your upgrades are coping, and you're lying to yourself. Average speed is overrated. It's the most overrated number in cycling. I think it's absolutely obnoxious. These people go out there and they're like, oh, I average 20 miles an hour, but like you climb no hills and you rode in a group the whole time and you're like a bike path champion. Cool. You're the champion of the bike path. No one cares. You're not a pro. You're just riding out on the East Bay bike path or the Coventry bike path or whatever. I'm not saying that like going fast isn't fun. It's fun, but remember, kids, Strava isn't racing. And even if you sandbag a whole race and win, you still win. So buy the nice thing because you want it, but don't pretend that it's making you fast. The nice thing is not making you fast. It might make you feel better. It might make you feel cooler. And those things can be very important, but just go out and ride. None of this pure watt shit. Watts aren't watts. It's not the same. A 180-pound rider like me is a different animal than a 145-pound person that can climb up a hill way faster than me. I see it all the time on our group rides. I could be a lighter rider, and we get to a hill, and someone who's much lighter than me that, maybe doesn't ride as much as me, just right up the hill, boom, done. Nice and fast, nice and smooth, and you love to see it. So certain parkours, they just favor certain riders, and the terrain decides just as much as the engine. If you really want to be like comparing numbers, you can be looking at like watts per kilogram, or you can be looking at your true stress score, or like, sort of how much you're putting yourself through for the week. But don't just go and look at a ride and say like, oh, I did 250 watts in an hour and so only did 180 watts in an hour. Well, it doesn't really matter, because if one person weighs twice as much as the other, we're talking watts per kilogram. We're not talking pure watts. All right, the main event. Let's get into some of these comments. The first one was about my facial hair, of all things. Obviously updated to a mustache. People commented on my beard. They said, how can you be talking about being like a good rider with a beard like that? And so I dug into it a little bit. Specialized Wind Tunnel actually has some tests on this. And over 40 kilometers with a beard, you will lose about a second in time. Now, sure, a second can be the deciding factor, but we're talking 70 seconds for shaved legs, 1 second for a beard, and about 70 seconds for shaved legs over the course of 40 kilometers. Those are both verified studies from the Specialized Wind Tunnel. This is not about gear review. This is, a cycling culture cosplay thing, right? Like, you can have a beard and still be a strong cyclist, so fuck off with that. And I think the next one that caught me was the classic, well, like, you do it too. Like, people were trying to gotcha me in the comments, like, oh, you're in costume too. Who are you to talk? And I was like, yeah, like, that was the whole point of the video, Like, I was like, I like this. I tried to really put myself on blast a little bit too. I'm someone that gets into an aero tuck on a group ride. I'm someone that likes expensive things, likes expensive bike and good kit and everything. But like, it's still, who are we kidding ourselves? We could not hold a candle to professional cyclists. For those of you who are familiar with basketball, Brian Scalabrine used to play for the Celtics. He once famously said, I am closer to LeBron than you are to me. Right? Those cyclists that are on those pro teams that maybe you haven't heard of so much, maybe like pro, some Q365 rider or some Kaha, oh my gosh, I'm not saying that right. Let's go with another team. Uskati, are they still a team? Those riders are a lot closer to Pog than they are to you and me, and just get out there and ride. And, also people were calling me fat and slow. That one hits close. I don't really take that with a grain of salt. I'm very self-conscious about my body image, and I think I have a little bit of body dysmorphia. Someone called me fat and slow on the internet that I don't know. Obviously, it stuck with me. I'm still talking about it on a podcast 2 months later. So yeah, it's hard. Sometimes putting yourself out on the internet and, trying to be open and honest with people opens you up to people who might be mean and nasty. And it's nice to put out a clip on the internet that, does well and hopefully drives people to see more It's Just a Hill stuff and like watch the podcast and appreciate it in the way that I want it to be appreciated. But unfortunately, I don't get to decide how people appreciate it. And that's okay. I'm trying to deal with it too myself. All right, before I let you go, 2 videos that I would like you to watch that are right here on the YouTube channel, if that's where you're watching this podcast. Shortest night ride, I mentioned it earlier. I did a ride for the summer solstice. I rode overnight into summer, from spring into summer, from sunset into sunrise. And that video is published and is up on the YouTube page, along with our race video from Pavement Ends. Adam and I went up to Henniker, New Hampshire and raced the 39-ish mile race. I interviewed Andy Gould here on the podcast just before that event, and those full videos are now up on the YouTube. And just a quick heads up on group rides. No group rides this upcoming weekend for July 4th, but we are going to hit a double banger next weekend. Saturday from MBX, no drop. Hopefully A and B group. If you want to host a B group, please reach out. And then Sunday, we're going to do a century ride from North Scituate. All of those events can be found on the It's Just a Hill Strava page, as always. Or you can head to itsjustahill.com to get the links everywhere. You can find our YouTube there, our Strava page there. It'll push you towards all the stuff that we like to do. And as always, big thanks to MBX, the official bike shop of It's Just a Hill. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you like and subscribe it, that is super helpful. We really appreciate it. And that helps other people like you find a podcast like this. See you on the back roads.
Decaf left, regular right. Decaf left, regular right. It's very challenging work.